Hi, I'm Angie Veman, and welcome to Totally Clutch. This is the podcast for women like you to find ways to simplify your business and personal life. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. All right, welcome back to another episode of Totally Clutch, the Clutch Businesses podcast and vlog. I'm Angie Veman, and today we're going to be we're going to be meeting our new boo, our new business order of operations. So we've got a really special guest with us today to tell us all about it. And I guess I'll start this by saying that there is a big stinky fish in the online business world, and it's content creation. So you see things about content creation everywhere on all the platforms all the time. People reminding us that we need to create more content, that we need to build our email list, that we need to go live, we need to dance, we need to sing, we need to have something meaningful to say to the online world every single day. And we need that in order for our business to be successful. That's the story that we hear over and over and over again. So I don't know about you, but I am so ready for a fresh new face. So today we've got Luis Baez with us, he's going to introduce us to our new boo, our new business order of operations. So he's a business strategist and coach, and he works to empower underrepresented entrepreneurs through online sales, training, and services. So welcome to the show, Luis.
Hi, Angie, and the rest of the crew. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. This is a conversation I'm pumped to have. I'm so ready to hear about all the magic that you make happen in the online world and with the people that work with you.
Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to tell us, a bit about your background and about the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Luis. My pronouns are he, him, his, and for my fellow Spanish speakers, en. And I am someone who has spent his entire life advocating for the things that I want and deserve. And I've done so to the tune of these really amazing opportunities to work at some of the most influential companies in the world. I've been recruited to work at companies like LinkedIn, Google, Uber, and Tesla. I've had a sales career and an impact of over $500 million. And if that wasn't enough for anyone else, for me, I really wanted an opportunity to take all this experience that I've amassed, all the things that I've learned, and help the next generation of entrepreneurs and leaders. And as I look at what's going on in the world and the way that things have shifted, I knew that the online business space would be the space to really drive the economic engine moving forward, especially now in light of everything that's happened in the last year. And so I dedicate myself to bringing all those really big strategies for big companies and making those strategies accessible to solopreneurs, small businesses, and micro businesses that otherwise wouldn't have access to that kind of thinking and support. And I've made it my mission to do what I can to equal the playing field in online business by focusing on reaching out to people who are female identified, BIPOC, LGBTQIA, and pouring into their businesses and making sure that everyone has what they need and deserve to see the results that they deserve.
Music to my ears. I love that. It's so amazing. Yeah, and I think, we're both coming to our work from similar places. I mean, the online world is such an opportunity for people that, that historically have not had opportunities in a more corporate setting. So thank you so much for doing that and for making that happen for so many people that deserve it and need it. So thank you. So most people, we're just going to dive in. Most people in the online world focus on building their lists or telling you to build your list and on content creation. And you're kind of shifting things around and believe that product development is really where businesses should start and should continue to focus as they grow and continue to do the work that they do. And can you tell us a little bit about why you're shifting things a bit?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts on this. I think like most people who endeavor to start an online business, I invested in all these people who had businesses that I really admired or brands that I really admired. They offered these courses at $2 or $3 or $5 or $10,000 that really at the core of it feed into your aversion of selling. They set you up with the automations and the templates and the email sequences. You get hooked up with, the pretty website and all these things. And at the core of it, yes, they've listened to all of your requests. They've listened to all of your feedback and given you everything it is that you asked for. But they did not serve up the thing that you need. And at the core of it, I don't teach selling, I teach advocacy. I teach advocacy for yourself, for the experiences that you have, for the knowledge and the expertise that you bring to the table. But I also teach advocacy for the customer, for the consumer, for the student. And for me, that is really about stepping away from this marketing first paradigm, getting unstuck, and instead not even focusing on sales first, focusing on product design. See, the thing is that because all the programs that exist out there really feed into this aversion of selling, you haven't quite developed that confidence or capacity or swagger for speaking to someone, introducing what it is that you do, and explaining how it is that you might be able to help them. And that swagger and that confidence is missing because your product isn't all the way dialed in. You haven't all the way validated it. It isn't designed to its fullest potential, right? And your head has been so focused on getting the website looking just right, curating the perfect Instagram feed. Next thing you know, you're finding yourself focusing 5, 6, 7 hours on marketing, but you don't have the revenue that you deserve. And it's because you've avoided having the conversations about sales. And that is in part due to your confidence in your product. And that's why after going through all the experiences that I've been through, investing all the money, being all the way disappointed and burned out and everything from other programs that I've experienced, I set out to design the experience in the program that I wish existed when I got started. One that doesn't keep me stuck, and one that really just hones in on what is the right order of operations for growing, scaling, and sustaining a successful business that is centered on serving and loving up on people, not squeezing sales and being very sleazy about the way that you approach things.
Yeah, that's really special and really unique. So, what do you think the impact? So the focus has been on content creation and still is, very much on content creation and things like that. What do you think the impact on the industry as a whole is with that focus?
Yeah, I think that the compulsion to create content over and over again, all the time, always on, etc., has actually created all the wrong habits and all the wrong intentions in some businesses. The crazy thing is, I've been following online businesses for the past few years now. Some of the most well-known businesses, well-known programs, they only open their cart once a year or twice a year, right? Like we anticipate, those moments, and we get very excited about those. And as far as the way that things are sort of like shifting right now is, folks understand what's going on. The consumer is all the way educated on the fact that they're being squeezed, and they're being pulled into this sort of ascension model where you buy into one thing that doesn't totally solve your problem. Then you buy into the other thing that kind of solves that problem until you finally get to like a $10,000 or a $20,000 investment threshold, and you still might be left hanging. Right. And so when I think about like what is the importance of the need to shift the way that we do things, is that people are way more informed. They see the countdown timer, they know that it's inflated. They see the limited time offer, they know it's not limited time, it's coming back in a few weeks, right? And so how do we meet the consumer exactly where they are? Right, we have to make sure that we honor the fact that in this day and time, and after everything that folks have been through, people need to be seen, heard, and understood. First and foremost, there needs to be some kind of connective tissue, some kind of investment in what it is that you do or how it is that you do things before there's real consideration for the things that you have to offer. And even then, if the process is like too sleazy and too squeezy, then you're destroying the potential for really good relationships.
Yeah, sleazy and squeezy. I love it. That's so awesome. Yeah, I think, I've shared with, with people watching, with people listening, I've shared it with you, Luis, that, I signed up for a coaching program that was not an insignificant amount of money early on when I started my business. And it's interesting because so I've gone through the program, it's been almost a full year. And, my year is coming up. And I have been pretty vocal throughout the time that I've been in that program or in that group, that it hasn't, I haven't had the effects. I haven't had the level of success
Yeah.
with the tools and techniques that they've been offering. If I'm not, there are people that are being successful with it, but I haven't been. And so, anyways, I think it's so interesting because now that my year is coming up, I haven't had really any communication with the person offering the program throughout the year, except for, times where I've kind of raised my hand and been like, what can I do? This isn't quite working for me. I'm not getting the same traction that I should. Anyways, all of a sudden, a month before my renewal date was up, I start getting these emails about wanting to book a call, wanting to, take this to the next level. And I was like, but I'm not even at the level that I was supposed to be by signing up for this. And now you want to talk, and I mean, I know these are automated emails that are going out. It's not a person that's sending them, but that I haven't even gotten what I should have out of the first part of it. So it did make me feel like, it was a disappointing experience to begin with, but whatever, things happen, and everything, not every program is for everybody. But I was like, wow, that's really interesting that that's there's no connection point throughout the entire 12 months, and then the end comes and you want more money. You think you want me to buy up, you want me to buy more, and you haven't really even earned the amount that I've paid you already.
Yeah, that message is entirely tone deaf, right? And that's exactly the
Yeah.
experience that a lot of people are having. It's like, wait. Like, let's first of all, let's have an honest conversation about the fact that a lot of these strategies that people teach, right, they have a limited amount of capacity or success rate, et cetera, that they're not admitting to you. Right. And
Hmm.
ultimately, they're pushing strategies that worked for their business, and they're trying to tout their expertise in that strategy as a way of building their name and reputation. And listen, it's
Yeah.
worked up until a certain point, right? Like that has helped to launch many careers and many brands, but the market has shifted now, right? People don't want to spend thousands of dollars to only have a Zoom once a month Q&A, to be corralled into a Facebook group to fend for themselves, post questions, be left hanging, etc. Right? I think folks have gotten to a point where it's like, yo, enough is enough of spending thousands of dollars, spending these monthly, fees, and being in these programs, and not seeing real traction. And again, a lot of these programs were designed with this real sort of like marketing first paradigm in mind. And now I'm here because I really want to shift this paradigm away from that. I want folks to know that you can have the pretty website, you can have all the automations, you can subscribe to all the things, you can spend all the time on Instagram, LinkedIn, and everywhere else, and you can still not have the revenue that you deserve. You can still
Hmm.
not have the money to pay the people to help you to do the things that are burning you out. Right. And I think the part that's very upsetting when I connect with people, and this is why I have to really hold space when I connect with folks, there's this real upset when I share with folks, like, hey, you didn't need the pretty website or the Instagram to start making money. What you
Yeah.
needed was a very thoughtfully designed product or service or experience, right? And if you had that, and if you could articulate to someone, hey, you have this problem, I can help you solve it in 4 weeks. There are 3 phases to solving this. And, I pick up and I do the heavy lifting in these ways because I know that you don't want to do this kind of work. This is why I charge what I charge. This is why we work together as long as we do, right? Everything feels kind of arbitrary when people introduce their offers, or it just feels like it's just something else that they've seen, just another, mimicking of another existing program, right? That thoughtfulness isn't there. That's why there's friction in your sales, because when something is very carefully designed, it doesn't really require a whole lot of selling when you're connecting with the right people that the product or the service is intended for, right? So that's really how you remove the friction from everything. It's not about the pretty website. It's not about the perfectly curated Instagram. As a matter of fact, there's enough evidence that already shows that there are people who are less trusting of perfectly curated Instagrams because there are so many bots, so much AI, so much misinformation, etc. So, the way to really build relationships this day and age is showing face, right? And it's not about the emphasis on content generation, right? It's like if you can create 3 pieces of content that answer every question that anyone would ever have about working with you, what your process is like, what the experience is like, etc. You can slice that content over and over again all year long and make all the
Yeah.
sales that you deserve. It's not about creating new content. It's not about the marketing, my friends. It is about the product design. And so
Yeah.
that's why I introduced my booth. It's my business order of operations, and it is not marketing first.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's so important. And I also just want to go back to something that you said about, a lot of people that are selling programs right now that are offering coaching services and things like that are people that are not necessarily trained to do that. They are people that have successfully done something for themselves, usually with the help of another coach. And they are now trying to say that this is a proven system. I did it, so you can. And there's not a lot of, I mean, as they build their business, obviously they have, you know, there are more and more people then that use the system that they have and use it successfully. So, they start to generate some data points that way. But starting out, a lot of them don't have that background. And that was something that, I kind of just assumed coming into my own business and coming into the online world. And I kind of teeter on both sides. I'm in the online world and businesses that are working B2B. But I kind of just assumed that, I've got 20 years of experience doing product development, doing operations, doing all of these things for giant corporations that are making billions and billions of dollars. I kind of assumed like that would be enough, or not enough, right? But like that would say something. And instead, in the online world, what I was getting pushed to do was, how have you done this? Do you have this? Do you have this? And I'm like, well, no, but I mean, I don't know who else is better to, like I have 20 years of practicing these things and, showing the success. I don't know. It was so interesting to me and just a very eye-opening experience. And it was something that made me kind of question initially, like what is the integrity in the online space? If these people are offering, expertise based on their own individual experience only, like, what is that? And is there value there? Like, was I being like kids these days, like being stuck in my ways? Or is the integrity a little challenged in that kind of thing? So it was an eye-opening experience for me and something that have, always kind of kept in mind, I guess, as I went along. So
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I think, entrepreneurship is an amazing equalizer because you can have no experience, no education, no background, and be like massively successful, right? And, at the same time, you can have all these experiences and all this background. Like myself, I entered the online business world with like, I've made over $500 million in revenue in my career. I can definitely talk about sales all day long, right? But what
right.
we have to honor is that when we're building a business, we've got to pay our dues to the process. And that is really what it comes down to. It's like, yeah, you might have all this knowledge, but you need to translate that knowledge for this market and this way of doing business, etc. Right? And so again, we go
Yeah.
down this path of like, you know what, we try all these things, we like are ripping our hair out, losing the sleep. Fine, fine. Take my $2,000, $3,000 for your online program. Tell me how to start this online business, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, a lot of people fall into this temptation, we'll call it a trap, temptation, whatever, of regurgitating what they learn in these online businesses or in these online programs, rather. They build businesses on regurgitating the information, but not really producing results, right?
Mhm.
And taking that to heart first before scaling from there. And so, yeah, I think it's time that we start to switch things up. And I think that the way to really unanchor and uproot the way that we've been doing business. It's like, let's honor that this marketing first paradigm, it's tired. It doesn't work. It
Yeah.
holds people back. It's designed to intentionally hold you back so the person who taught you the program can continue to thrive.
Yeah. Well, if we have not convinced everybody that marketing first does not work, I don't know what we're doing. But so I think we've established that. Do you want to talk through or share the process that you use with your clients and in your business that is product development focused or product focused?
Yeah, I call it my boo. It's the business order of operations. And I talk about my boo. I personify my boo. I love my boo. I get along with my boo. My boo and I check in with one another. And my boo was designed to help me get off the hamster wheel of all the overwhelm that comes with, like, man, I've got to do all the things. I've got to schedule this. I've got to get that call. I've got to produce this piece of content, etc. Sometimes we get lost in that swirl and we feed into the temptation and the compulsion of just looking busy to be busy. If we're not busy, we're not successful. And I got really burnt out by that. I was really just sick and tired of that and frustrated. And so I sat with the experiences that I'd had. I'd invested with a business coach, dumped the thousands of dollars, was left all the way hanging. And after that experience, I said, aha, enough is enough. Like, we need to really flip the script. I've got to stop giving permission to everyone else to teach me how to run or start a business. I've got to take my power back. I've got to trust the fact that I have this business acumen, that I've done this successfully before, and that there's nothing out here that these people don't know that I don't already know myself. And so when I gave myself permission to show up at the top of my game, right, as opposed to like being really meager minded, everything else started to fall into place. And the first thing was my business order of operations. This is a framework or a lens or a rubrics that I look through when I'm trying to assess, like, is this worth my time? Is this a priority? Should I be investing in this thing? Is this worth the money? Is this worth the hire? Right. And also, yes, there are 5 different opportunities on the table. I can't realistically do all these things. Where do I begin? So the business order of operations begins with the focus on product, right? The thing is that fundamentally, for you to have a successful business that has predictable revenues month over month, where you can start to see the growth, first and foremost, you've got to have something to sell. That's your product, your service, your package, your group coaching experience, or whatever that might be. That needs to be very carefully designed. We cannot skim over that. And so when I think about all the priorities that I have in a given month, I have a new business order of operations every month. I do this exercise on a monthly basis, right? And what I do is I go, okay, based on the feedback that I've gotten from students in my program, the product needs updating. I need to add content, remove content, reconfigure this, add a new feature, add a new layer of support. And so that goes into my product quadrant of my business order of operations for the month. Because I need to have something to sell, and it's got to be amazing. It's got to be just right for the coaches, creators, and consultants that I serve. Then once I have something to sell, I've got to have a process for selling it, right? And yes, we can pull the lever on the webinars, the email sequences, and all the things, but I'm a boss, and trying to do things every other way didn't work out for me, didn't sit with me at the core, because it wasn't authentic. These automations and these templates and all these things, they didn't feel like me. They don't feel like the way that I like to do business or the way that I like connecting with people. And I'm very much an analog person living in a digital world. I love talking to customers. I love talking to people. I'm not particularly extroverted, but in my line of business, I love having my ear to the ground. And I love seeing the aha moments. I love seeing people's faces light up when they learn something new, right? And so I designed a business not around avoiding customers and relegating them to automations and email sequences. I designed a sales process that centers around video. When you arrive on any of my sales pages, you are invited to a conversation with me. I am not doing a hard sale. I am going to hold space for you to ask me questions because I know that you're wondering if what I have to offer is just right for you. You tried something else. Is this like that? I've been working on this. Is this going to conflict? I'm a little bit limited on time. Like, how can I make this work? I have to be available for those questions, and there is no automation that can answer that for me. I need to make that sort of human connection, right? And it isn't about running for the hills and creating a webinar and doing all these expensive things. I use one tool called Video Ask, and that is how I communicate with people, not the emails. I get on camera, I say, hey, Angie, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your interest. It sounds like you're stuck on X, Y, or Z. Let me explain how we're going to get you unstuck. So that is how I design my sales process, very human focused. So business order of operations, you got to have something to sell. You got to have an authentic process for selling it on your terms because you're a boss. Then we move into operations. You have to have the tools to fulfill your promise. If you told someone they're going to get access to a course, that course needs to be hosted somewhere. If you told someone they get access to a private community, where is that community going to live? Right? If you told someone they're going to get access to you at a certain frequency via an app, is that app set up? Are you prepared to connect with the client, right? On the back end, the virtual assistants, the copywriters, everything else that needs to happen, all the people that need to be in place, all the tools that need to be in place to fulfill your promise relative to your sales. That's how I think about operations. And then the last piece of all of this, once you have something to sell, a process for selling it, and all the tools for fulfilling the sales and supporting the customers, then and only then am I going to go down the rabbit hole in thinking about marketing, because I don't have 4 hours to spend aimlessly on Instagram. I need to have a very specific purpose and strategy for that. And the only way that that strategy and purpose becomes clear is when I've removed the anxiety of what it is that I'm selling and how I'm selling it and how it gets fulfilled, because I can then show up very confidently for conversations with total finesse, total swagger, total calm and coolness when it comes to my marketing, because everything else has been figured out. So that is how I prioritize my time and energy. And that is the business order of operations. I love my boo, and I would never trade my boo for anything else.
I love your boo too. It's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds, I mean, really what I was pulling from that as you were talking is like it seems like there's kind of two polar opposite ways of existing in the online world right now, right? Of course, there's intricacies that I'm and nuances that I'm leaving out, but there's people that are working from the top down and people that are working from the bottom up, and that's I love just the intentionality of the approach that you're taking, and it really is, I think, a lot of times we get so focused on the number of people. I mean, we've talked about it like until we were blue in the face practically today even, but like it's all about the numbers, the number. And really, like, if you have this well-crafted product, you can charge a higher amount, and then you don't have to you don't have to have 1,000 customers. You can, depending on your business, if you're a coach, I mean, sometimes just working with 10 people is like, for you, enough sustenance, and it allows you to provide, this incredible experience that's, full of meaning and value for people. And you're not sacrificing as a result,
Not at all. And I think you hit the nail on the head around intentionality. Like, I am someone that's very clear on the fact that for me to hit my revenue goals for the year, for me to be successful, for me to meet everything that I need to meet, online, offline, everything, I need 100 customers per year,
Yeah.
right? And I designed that intentionally. Pen to paper, spreadsheet, crunch the numbers, laid them out on an investor deck, all the things. I know exactly the levers I need to pull to get to where I want to go. And so I can let go of the compulsion to be worried about my follower count to be worried about my email list size, etc. Because I'm focused on having one conversation at a time, right? And the conversations I'm having are very high level. My conversion rates are
Yeah.
high, right? It's because I'm not busy talking to a lot of people that aren't really qualified. I'm very
Yeah.
intentional about the ways that I move and the way that I train my team to move as well.
Yeah, the other thing, okay, so I also love this. I hadn't picked up on this yet, or until now, but I also love that. Okay, so 100 people, they're so you and if you're clear on how those 100 people are going to come to be, right? There is so much more control that you have in that scenario, right? And not that, like I'm not necessarily claiming to be a control freak or anything like that, but like I think one of the things that entrepreneurs struggle with is just it doesn't feel like everything feels out of control, right? Like it's just they're kind of putting it out into the universe and see what kind of smacks them back in the face. And it's so like I can see that it produces a lot of anxiety, right? That lack of control or that feeling of not having control produces a lot of anxiety. And if you're after 1,000 people and you're going to get those 1,000 people or 10,000 people, whatever it is, through Instagram ads or Facebook ads or whatever it is, like there's no control in that, right? Like, I mean, sure, some people are better at running ads than others, but like still, it's kind of like a flip of the coin in a lot of ways. And when you're making that real connection with all of those people and being so intentional along the way, there is so much more control that you have in that. And I don't know, I love that for you, and I love that for the people that you're working with. It seems like such a beautiful ecosystem, right?
It is really important, and you hit on something that a frustration a lot of people meet when I connect with them is they've gone through the launch, right? They made the big announcement, launched the ads, the email sequences, the webinars, and all the things, and they're like, I spent $10,000, but I only made $11,000 in revenue. Like this isn't really
Yeah.
adding up for me. This isn't going to be sustainable. It's like, yeah,
Mhm.
because you ran the ads and you ran the emails, etc., but you never spoke to customers, right? I think that the
Right.
important thing is for you to really reap the full benefit of that kind of investment of running ads and doing all the things is think about inserting yourself using a simple tool like Video Ask to create more connective tissue between you and that person. We have to
Yeah.
honor and acknowledge the mindset of someone that comes in through an ad, right? Because they've been passively consuming your content and they slowly arrived at like, this might be an interesting solution, right? And that's a very different experience than someone tapping on your shoulder and saying, hey, Angie, based on what I see about your business, based on what you've shared, I think that there's something here for you. And
Yeah.
that personalized touch is going to have a far higher conversion rate than someone passively coming in through ads. And so when you talk
Yeah.
about like that control, yeah, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who feel like they don't have control over their own revenues, their own destiny, right? And that's what part of the work that I do is like we put you back in control by shifting the focus away from this marketing first, ads first kind of model and really illuminating like this is your potential. You want 50 sales, drop 50 messages and you'll get them.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. That's really great. So is there something, I mean, I feel like we've only been talking for 5 minutes, but we're actually close to or like even a little bit over. But is there one, not even just one thing, but well, actually, let me ask this. No, oh my gosh, I'm getting like totally stumbled here. But so is there one thing that people can do today? So whether they're in business or already, or they're thinking about starting a business, is there something that they can do today to start to play around with this process that you work with?
Absolutely. I would say take a piece of paper. I'm very analog, right? Like we can talk about doing things
Yeah.
online all day long, but take a pen or a pencil. I'm big on clicky pencils. Get a blank sheet from your paper or your notebook, draw 2 lines, 4 quadrants, and just write them out. Product, sales, operations, marketing. And just take all those things that are like swirling in your head, all your ideas about, oh, I want to do this, I want to introduce that, I think it should include this, etc. Just dump them into these quadrants and start eliminating all the things that you know don't need to happen, right? So if it isn't going to yield a sale more immediately, if it requires like, oh, months of design and preparation and whatever, then you're missing the point. I think that the most important thing is get into the zone with loving up on your customers. Really understand, that they're having really terrible experiences with other people who are less qualified than you. And those people are walking away with revenue simply because they've shown up. So I need you to show up. I need you to be intentional and be thoughtful. You will always win when you really show up for customers.
That's amazing. Yeah, and honestly, I think that that is going to be the theme for this season of this show, because that is just what we're hearing over and over and over again from everybody that I'm talking with, and even marketers, right, are just like, it's interesting because they're even kind of talking about taking a step back towards product and focusing on, like, check in with your customers, ask them questions like, why are we trying to make decisions for them? And so I think, there's that authenticity that comes through in that. And because really all of our businesses are here to serve other people. And I think it's, it has, I don't know that this is a new problem, but it becomes kind of easy to forget about that, to kind of let that idea go when you're focused on numbers and paying your bills and all of those types of things. So I think, again, it just, and I think I've said this with everybody, is that it creates such a great experience, not only for your customers and your clients, but also for you as the business owner and, any of the team that you work with. It's just, it feels so much better. It's like the biggest breath of fresh air ever.
Yes, 1,000%.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Luis. This was so great. And I, again, like, I love what you're doing. I love, going back to the beginning and building this strong foundation. And, I love your ability to connect with people. And for those that are, for those that are watching, those that are listening, if you haven't, I'm going to put it up on the screen here, go to Luis's website or any of his social media pages, and you'll see that come to life. Just that ability and willingness to connect really, truly, and authentically. So thank you so much, Luis. I really appreciate you talking with us today.
Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for having me on the show and giving me this opportunity to connect with your audience.
Anytime. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. Rate and review this podcast and share it with all of your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you're leaving with some great things that can help you move from hustle to flow, because I believe in you and your business. Until next time.